Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown, joined by Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, Coach Vann Pettaway, our basketball analyst here on the Carlos Brown Show. Here's the menu, the guest menu, I simply call it, for today's show, April the 6th. Of course, Charles Edmond, Coach Vann Pettaway, A.D. Willa Brown joins us, and then also Richard Morgan Williams. He'll be coming on to talk SWAC baseball. So he'll be joining us. Here's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern University upsets LSU in baseball. The fourth time in the history of the LSU Southern baseball series that the Jaguars come out on top. The Final Four is set in both the women's and the men's action. Coach Pettaway, I believe, is in Phoenix, site of the men's Final Four. We'll talk about that as well. And then last but not least, our SWAC baseball report coming up for you. And Southern University football spring game today at 1 p.m. Let's bring in the panel, hear from them. Coach Pettaway, good morning from, I believe, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yes, I'm in Phoenix. I've been out here since Wednesday, getting ready for this Final Four and these basketball championships. I've been seeing and conversing with a lot of my old colleagues, and this is a great time of year if you're a basketball coach because you get a chance to see everybody, you get a chance to attend their clinics, and it's just a great time. A lot of basketball business is being conducted out here, and so it's a great place to be.
Well, Coach Pettaway, you deserve it. You've earned it. And if I'm not mistaken, you've been going for many years.
Oh, yeah.
So glad that you made it safe and sound. Charles Edmond, it seems like you're in the bright sunshine. And is that Lorman,
Yes,
Mississippi?
yes. Good morning. Getting ready for our purple and gold spring football game today, and it's just amazing how you have to innovate and you got to figure things out. I am talking to you from the roof of Jack Spinks Marino Castle Stadium. Our elevator went out.
Oh my goodness!
They had the company come out yesterday to try to fix it. They couldn't fix it, so we were going to broadcast the spring game. We're still going to do it, but we're going to do it from the roof. So what a better angle. You don't have any issues in terms of sight lines. So, hey, you got to figure, like Coach Cedric Thomas said yesterday, you got to figure it out. And I've been able to figure it out. It's a great day, good crowd expected. So, purple and gold game. I know Southern's got some stuff going. Jackson's got their game today. And so it's that time of year where spring practice is wrapping up.
Somehow, when you say that, I think about Willa Brown. He says, it's just a spring game. You don't get too excited. And there he goes. Unbelievable. But I will say it sets the tone in a way because you're building, and to have that going on. Good afternoon to you, Willa Brown, live from I believe Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I was out here at, speaking of spring games, I was out at Morgan State and just left Morgan. And it's Baltimore Day at Morgan State. And Morgan and University of Maryland College Park, they're doing like a joint type of practice type thing today. So Morgan's out there probably for about another hour. And then University of Maryland will come out and do their 2 hours, that sort of thing. Pretty decent, half decent crowd, I think. And, so it's a great bonding type of situation. Yeah, so, it's still going on right now. Yeah.
Willa, you seem excited. I can't believe it for the spring game.
Well, you can't help but get excited, Carlos. Anytime there's some hitting going on,
Yeah.
So I mean that kind of gets the adrenaline flowing, that sort of thing. But I mean it's all about the kids and evaluating them and seeing how much better they've gotten, over the past few months, that sort of thing, and laying the groundwork and the foundation, and it's always good for the fans to be able to come out and get a early picture, and the prognosticators, because the haters will be out too, and
Hmm.
they'll be ready to tell you what you need and what you don't need come tomorrow morning, and it'll be all over the internet and all that sort of thing and stuff. So, I guess it serves a lot of purpose for a lot of people, but for us diehard football folk, you just glad to see football cranking back up, that sort of thing.
And Coach Pettaway, one of the things also with the spring game, I know at Southern and I'm sure at other places, you got the RVs, the tailgating, junior day for Southern University. There's also athletic department out there trying to solicit more support. So, and then you got other activities going on campus. So it's a pretty good thing. You learn how to brand and market all of that behind the spring football game, Coach Pettaway.
Right, and same things happened at Alabama A&M today. They got softball going on, they got a
Hmm.
baseball game going on, and then later on this evening, the football team would have their spring game. And so they did this to invite everybody up. They're calling it Fan Day. They got different activities for the little kids, and they're
Hmm.
doing the same thing. They're promoting ticket sales. They're doing asking people for donations. So a lot of thought is being put into these spring game activities, and on the hill, they're gonna be wide open today. You get an opportunity to see three of your sports, and it might be four. I got to check the tennis schedule. They even might be doing something today. But the big thing is they pushed that football game back, the game back until like 4, and then
Hmm.
that allows you to come to softball and baseball, and then get you a taste of football.
Yeah.
So it's a big day on the hill. Big day on the hill.
Yeah. So beautiful weather everywhere. So with that being said, um, what's trending? Southern University upset LSU in baseball. Number 18 LSU at the time, 12-7 for Southern, 12 runs, 11 hits, 2 errors. LSU 7 runs, only 4 hits and 3 errors. The winning pitcher for Southern University, Antoine Harris, of course, 1 and 2. Overall, pitched 3 innings, but it's historic, and the first time since 2019, the last time Southern defeated LSU, and that was at Lee Hines Field. So not only was it historic, a very big win, but it's a big win for all of HBCU baseball.
It is, Carlos, and I'm still glowing from it. I am so happy for the university beating a defending national champion. Here's a trivia question. I don't know if anyone knows this, but when was the last time a SWAC team in any sport beat a defending national champion at any level? NAIA, Division II, D3, FCS. LSU won it
Hmm.
all last year. When was the last time a SWAC team has beat a defending national champion? And so that's the one thing that showed up for me. I think it definitely has gotten Southern going a little bit, because I know, Carlos, it's been a struggle for the Jaguars. A win like that can help turn your season around. And look, Southern's swinging a pretty good stick in 3 previous
Hmm.
games. They scored 45 runs in 3 games. Now that's not sustainable. That's not going to continue to happen. Right now it is, but at least the bats are waking up, and you hope the pitching kind of comes along as well as the defense. And a game like this could propel Southern, could elevate their confidence in a lot of different ways. So I'm happy for Southern University, and I'm happy for the SWAC, because this is something that doesn't happen very often.
Well, let me do this. I'm ahead of myself. Wow, and I apologize. Southern University spring game is not today; it's next Saturday.
Oh, oh, Carlos,
I got ahead of.
you got people rushing. Hey, you got people rushing out to the stadium, Paulo.
My my mind is thinking just so fast ahead of time. So I apologize. Thanks VW to a gentle reminder that it is next Saturday. So I apologize. Hey, you make a mistake, you own up to it. But boy, that was a big one there. But next next Saturday is the spring game. But for Southern University baseball, they've won 5 in a row. They backed that up with a 13-11 victory over University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. I'm sure I got that one right. Um, so with that being said, yeah, I had some concerns. I had some concerns with the baseball team, but right now they're tied for first place in the Western Division. So they're doing very well. You give credit where credit is due. Now, when that at the end of that game, I was telling some people, the 24-hour rule is in play. That means you celebrate it, you forget about it, and you get prepared for the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. And hey, 13-11. But Tyler Harkins, a transfer from the University of Louisville, is just hitting the cover off the ball for Southern University. 3 hits, 6 at-bats against LSU. Last night did a great job as well. So this Jaguar baseball team, hey, they've proven me wrong at this point in the season. They're doing well, and now they just got to keep the momentum going. And Grambling State is awfully tough as well in the Western Division, but we'll get a little bit more into that as we speak. Coach Pettaway, the Final Four is set in basketball, and boy, last night tremendous basketball games as far as on the women's side. Can you just believe how popular women's basketball has become and is?
Yeah, I think we have seen this coming. The last 2 or 3 years, the momentum has picked up in women's basketball, and right now they're capitalizing on it. The attendance is gone up. The tickets, you got people scalping women's basketball tickets now, and I remember when you used to be able to give them away. So their brand is out there. They're doing a great job with promoting women's basketball. I just hate that they, by the luck of the draw, they in Indianapolis this weekend where it's cold. But other than that, they've had tremendous crowds for everything associated with the women, and then the product on the floor has been outstanding. You look at what South Carolina, University of South Carolina has done. You look at what Connecticut has done. You look at what Iowa has done. And then, of course, the Cinderella team, North Carolina State. But now you got number 1 seed versus number 1 seed. South Carolina versus Iowa tomorrow. And it's going to come down to how many touches does Caitlin get against the Gamecock defense. I think in order for them to come out on top, they're going to have to reduce her touches, because that's the only way to stop her. Because once she gets the ball in the hand, she had a slow first half yesterday. Well, look what she did coming out of the locker room in the third quarter. She scored 7 quick points right off the bat. And she was able to beat UConn. I thought UConn did not take advantage of the fact that they had slowed her down and they didn't score enough points. They went on a scoring drought. But I know Don Staley, she is working overtime coming with a game plan. And then the other thing that you got to think about, will our inside game be able to neutralize what South Carolina does in the paint? And I'm looking forward to that game. I would not miss that for anything.
Well, Charles and Willa, it's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
But when I looked at the Iowa team, I said it had to be the others that get it done. Clark's going to get hers. And H. Stuckle, 23 points. The post player inside was tremendous. because if you look at Clark, 21 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. But I look at those others. Can they elevate? And that's what you saw with Iowa and UConn. South Carolina, of course, blew out North Carolina State. And South Carolina is just a tremendous team. Depth, size. But I wonder, Coach Pettaway, and you tell me, was the moment a little bit too, well, I wouldn't say too big for North Carolina State, but being there for the first time, South Carolina undefeated, they've been there before. I don't know. It just seems like North Carolina State came out and started well, but then it's like, uh-oh, we realize we're playing in the semifinals. And then South Carolina depth and talent just took over. Am I off base with that? Is it just because South Carolina was, of course, a better team?
Well, of course, South Carolina is a better team, and I think what happened is that talent and that depth, it came into play.
Okay.
North Carolina State, they did what they could do for the first half. But you know, when you got a team as strong and as deep as South Carolina, the guard play, the post play. That's a solid team.
Complete team.
It's gonna take a heck of an effort to beat South Carolina. And I'm looking forward to that game. I just think that you're gonna see two of the top teams in the nation, two number one seeds, the overall number one seed going at it tomorrow. And it's no tomorrow. Caitlin talks about she only has 40 minutes left in her career. Well, it certainly is going to come down to that tomorrow. 40 minutes of all out. I think we'll probably see her best. But I think South Carolina can counter that because they're deeper. The inside game with Quavosa and those ladies, I just think that they're the team to beat. And I look forward to that game tomorrow.
Well, Coach Pettaway, I got a quick question for you. I mean, the game last night, Iowa and UConn was terrific, but that call in the last seconds, I have to disagree with it, and I think the vast majority of people on social media would say the same thing.
Mhm.
It's a very difficult call to swallow if you're a fan, if you're a player, if you're a coach in the final seconds in that moment. Maybe it's the right call on video, but you got to let the players decide that. And then if she was run over, that was one thing. It was a hard screen. As a coach, how do you look at that that offensive foul call there in the final seconds?
Well, Charles, you know me now. My fingers would still be around that official's neck this morning. He laid that call on me. They'll still be trying to pull my fingers off around his neck. That was a tough one, Charles. And you want the kids to decide the game.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are saying, that the officials, and it's just like Gino said, you can call that, you can make that call the entire game.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to what's at stake and that moment in the game, you let the kids play. Yeah, that was a very crushing moment. And they just came up short.
And in the post game, the UConn players, they were like, well, no, that play didn't.
That one play, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't cost us the game, but it the opportunity to see if UConn could tie the game or take the lead. That's what you look at. But I guess the politically correct thing to say was, hey, it didn't cost us the game, although everybody in America would disagree with that.
Right.
So it's interesting about that. Now we have on the screen Richard Morgan Williams. He's going to be our baseball analyst for the Carlos Brown Show. 2006 graduate of Alabama A&M, Coach Pettaway.
Yep. All go Dogs. Go Dogs.
Yeah. Was a pitcher and a designated hitter on the Thomas Wesley. Also assistant coach at Stillman for 2021 under Coach Terrence Wright. Richard, pleasure to have you join this show. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It is definitely a pleasure to be here. especially with an A&M legend, Coach Vann Pettaway himself. Coach, I haven't seen you in quite a while. We were in Tampa at a wedding of my brother, Jamal Stearns, the last time.
Yep.
So it's good to see you again in great health and good spirits. So,
nice seeing you, Richard. I'm happy. I'm happy to see you, and I'm glad that you're a part of the baseball concept. Yep.
Yes, sir. And I tell everybody I was at A&M around Giants legends. So Coach Pettaway for sure. Thomas Wesley, I've always spoken about. One of the first African Americans to be a scholarship baseball player at the University of Alabama. Also played for the Cincinnati Reds before coming to A&M, and a long time baseball coach there. And I've been trying to move to get the field named after him, actually. So someone who gave myself and many other Black boys becoming men opportunities to go to school and get an education, and cared about us more than just being players on the field. So I'll always sing his praises. But also Coach, he knows Coach Stearns, one of the best football coaches that ever come through Alabama A&M, and he actually left A&M the year before I got there and came to a little city called Lynette, Alabama, and was my high school head football coach. And up until the day he died, I spoke to that man every day, and it's always, we stand on the backs of legends.
Yep.
Well said. Glad to have you part of the show. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, a couple more things to discuss. We're going to get into our SWAC baseball report as well. Some interesting game. Richard, we'll get your thoughts on Southern's big victory over LSU, and just the overall state of conference race and SWAC baseball. Also, Coach Pettaway, on the men's side, we got some big games tonight. Can Mr. Burns control Big Edie at 7'4"? North Carolina State, the Cinderella team. Coach Belvano is probably smiling at North Carolina State. Then also UConn, my personal pick to win it all, like millions of others, against Alabama. Can Alabama get it done? We'll go through that as well. Take a time out. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Richard Williams, Willa Brown, Charles Edmond, Coach Pettaway. Before we get back into a little bit of baseball talk, remember, hit the like button, subscribe, notification, Carlos Brown Show, also Black College Sports Network, a plethora of shows on the network. Appreciate you doing that. North Carolina State and Purdue, Coach Pettaway and panel. UConn and Alabama. First game, North Carolina State and Purdue, Coach Pettaway. Tough assignment for North Carolina State, but the feel-good team in this Final Four has to be North Carolina State. And Mr. Burns, 6'9", a Canadian, native, wide body, 6'9", but he has a tall task against Mr. Edey. Does North Carolina State have a chance?
Well, at this time of the year, every team has a chance, but they got a lot of things have to go right for them to beat Purdue. Because right now, the only thing to me that Burns can do, he can keep Edey from getting a certain spot on the floor because he has size and he's got strength and weight, but he's too short to defend Edey by himself. They're gonna have to run double teams. They got to do stuff to try to throw off his rhythm, and then I think the biggest thing is you cannot allow him to set up in the paint. You got to get him off the block, and a lot of that's going to depend on how the officials call this game. If they allow North Carolina State to be physical, then Burns will be able to help get Edey out of the paint. But if they're gonna call it close, man, it's gonna be over with because like at the practices yesterday, Edey was working on right hand and left hand hooks, and all he was doing, he wasn't really jumping. He was just extending because that's all he's gonna have to do against a guy that's only 6'9". And doing their workout yesterday, that he was down on one end of the court by himself, while the other part of the team was on the other end, and that's all he was working on, those little short baby hooks. So I expect to see that a lot today if he's able to get in the paint. But if those officials are allowed to be physical, then yeah, Burns will be able to get him out of the paint or keep him out of the paint. And the further away from the basket that you get him, your chances improve. But with him being such a good passer, the teams that are trying to double team Purdue, he's always found an open guy. And then these kids are knocking down these open shots, threes or twos. They put them down. So they got a tall task.
Well, I'm sitting here trying to think. You're the analyst, the expert. I know a guy that big has to depend on somebody giving him the ball. Ball pressure. Only thing I could think of, Coach Pettaway. Can they pressure the guard enough to get the entry pass in, at least kind of stop it? But it's going to be tough. He's going to get his, I guess. Looking at the others,
right?
Hopefully, one of the others don't have a spectacular game, but a tough assignment.
Very tough.
Very tough. UConn and Alabama. UConn to
Analytics,
me is the better team.
right? On paper, UConn's the better team, but you got to think about this: Alabama lives and dies by that 3-point shot. If they're going down, if they're putting those 3-point shots down, that means that UConn could be in trouble. But they've got the interior game. Alabama's not strong enough in the paint to stop UConn inside. But if on the offensive end, if Alabama spread that floor and those threes are going down, it's going to be UConn going to be in for a long day now, because they're shooting threes and you making twos, and at the end of the day, them threes they'll add up more. So it's going to be an interesting game. But if they're not putting shots down, it could be ugly for Alabama.
Charles, Richard, Wheeler. I'm a Charles Barkley. He talks about in the playoffs, you live by the three, you die by the three. And if those shots are not going in, as Coach Pettaway say, it could be tough. I guess I'm old school, Coach Pettaway. You work inside and out. I'm so nervous. Alabama has to shoot a high percentage, and man, they can do it, but can they consistently do it?
Well, Carlos, you dance with the one that brought you. You dance with what got you there. So I mean, I can't say we need to stop shooting threes, but we definitely need to be selective in what we're doing. But if the 3-point shot got us there, I mean, you are who you are. You got to go for
it. You're not gonna change now. The game plan.
Too late to change now. I mean, but you got, as Coach Pettaway was saying, you got to have that total game plan in place. You got to be able to recognize whether it's your day or whether it's your night, from beyond the arc. And, you got to be willing to make adjustments accordingly, that sort of thing. And, you just got to be well-rounded. You got to be ready for anything.
Adjustments, Richard. That sounds like what Wheeler's talking about.
Yep.
Richard, did you hear me?
Oh, I hear you coming through now. Yeah.
Okay.
I am. We'll get around to this when we talk baseball a little bit. Coming up in a minute, but speaking on Alabama, I refer to them as that team in Tuscaloosa. I did start at Auburn, so I have not been too happy with how this NCAA tournament has gone. But as you said, making adjustments, living by the three, dying by the three. Auburn didn't adjust earlier. Alabama has throughout the entire tournament. So that's something, good coaching. And like you said, dancing with who brought you to the show. You got to go with it, ride the hot hand. So we'll see if they're able to keep it up. If not, this is the first time that Alabama has been in this position, I think, as a program. So it's a historic run for them, and sometimes that's enough to kind of push your guys to heights they usually wouldn't get to. So we'll see where it goes. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for them. I'm going to be honest.
Oh, I understand. I understand. Trust me.
But we'll see what they have. But if that percentage starts getting off, then it's going to be a long night for the Crimson Tide.
Yep.
And if we go back, Charles, what was it? They were playing Illinois, and it was a close game, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yep.
UConn, they're just consistent. They really are.
Well, you got 4 teams in it, 2 teams that were probably supposed to be there in the Final Four. You're talking about UConn and Purdue. And you got 2 teams that no one expected to be there.
Right.
And so for me, for Alabama, Alabama on paper was not the better team than North Carolina, but you saw what happened. Same thing here this week. Then you got Purdue and their matchup with the 2 bigs with North Carolina State. Coach Pettaway, for me, whichever big gets in early foul trouble, I think that's the team that's going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit. That's a matchup I want to see, because we know what the two bigs can do, and we see their games. Whichever big gets into foul trouble early, if that happens, I think that's going to help shape that game a little bit in the first half, in my opinion.
Right. Well, how the officials call that game is going to be very important, because if North Carolina State cannot be physical with Edey, man, it's a wrap. It's a wrap, because they play through him, and if he's double or triple team, he can pass out. A lot of bigs can't make the pass, so you can do that. And then Carlos, you're talking about pressuring the ball. Well, Purdue has got a lot quicker on the perimeter. Coach Painter saw that last year. So they got guys now who, if you're up in them, they can get by you. They can still make plays, because the only bad pass that you could make to Edey is probably one down at his feet. So the passes don't have to be perfect. They just got to get to where the big guy can handle it. And that's why I think that if the officials have called that game close, North Carolina State is not going to have a chance, man, because he's just too dominant. And to watch this kid, to watch Edey from his freshman year to now, he's made himself, man, and he's done it through hard work. He's done it through hard work. And that was a lot of the people that were at practices yesterday. They talked about how Purdue's practice was different from everybody else. Everybody else had a team concept. Every drill involved the entire team. But in Edey's case, that's just how important he is to their offense. He's down there working by himself, getting his rhythm and his shot down. When they're playing those big, they're playing in the football stadium, so the sight line is different.
Yeah.
So they're making sure that he's comfortable around that basket, because they know his importance. They got to go through him if they're going to have a chance. And we just got to let the chips fall where they may. But we'll see tonight. We'll see today.
Well, it looks like UConn and Purdue, if things go the way the prognosticators are saying, then they'll play for a championship Monday night. So we will see how that goes. Baseball. Switching back to baseball, and Richard, Southern University for the fourth time defeated the LSU baseball team, the defending champions. What does that mean, not only for Southern University baseball program, but the conference and HBCU baseball as a whole, in your humble opinion?
Well, in my opinion, for many of the people I know who have played in the SWAC and have come through it, it affirms what we've always believed as far as what baseball could be in the SWAC when backed by universities. And Southern has a program that is traditionally backed their baseball program, along with Bethune-Cookman. The talent is there. The talent has always been there in HBCU ball. What we have a deficiency in has been the arms that we're available to get. On any good day, that man standing on the mound is what wins or loses you the game under many circumstances. The SWAC has always had great players, and this is not the first time. Even so, Southern, when I played, they had Ricky Weeks was coming through there, probably the best hitter I'd ever seen at that point in my life and in the nation on the college level. And we've had many more players that have come through the SWAC and have played professional baseball, whether minor league, and some have made it to the majors. The issue, what separates us on the NCAA level, and you can see this also if you look at NAIA ball, there are, I think it's Eastern University is the number one team in NAIA. Their 5 pitchers they recorded this past weekend, their number 1 was sitting at 97. Their number 2 was sitting at 95. Number 3 hit 1-on-1. And their 4 and 5 are both sitting 96, 97, just on their fastballs. So it starts with the arms. And that is traditionally where the SWAC has fallen behind from other conferences of our sizes. So if we can make that gap up, the talent is there, especially athletically. We have everything you want as far as fielding positions. You have the hit for average. We have guys who can do that in spades. Hit for power. We have guys strong arms, fielding. Everything is there. The pitching is what traditionally has held us back on a higher level. So seeing what Southern can do, and I've seen the people I work with have said, well, LSU was throwing their middle of the week guy, but that's baseball, correct? This is a one sport that you're not going to see the number one guy 7 times in a week. It's not possible. So it's part of the game, and we have to our programs get out here and recruit these pitchers, and they are really there, and some are escaping us and going NAIA ball, going to smaller programs that we can bring. And it can be done. A couple of years ago, Alabama A&M went into Mississippi State, who was the number 1 team in the country, and I think lost 3-1, which would have been a huge we gave up 2, I think, late in the game, and they ended up winning that game. But that would have been huge for the A&M program, just like for the SWAC in total. So the SWAC has talent. We can do it. Bethune-Cookman, and this is before they were in the SWAC, was a game away from going to the College World Series. And they have the talent down there to return. So SWAC baseball is strong. It can get stronger. It just depends on where we, the support that we give these schools and where we take it.
Charles and Coach Pettaway and Wheeler from the administrative side, we've often talked about resources, pitching quality versus quantity. Charles, we've been to regional games where we've seen a great performance on day one. Then to get into the bullpen, then that's where the trouble started. We talked about, from a historical standpoint, that our universities are starting to, invest in baseball, some more than others, and it does make a big difference. We've also talked about our goal is to perhaps have he did mention FAMU. Richard, FAMU, people say you didn't mention FAMU as a prominent baseball program.
Well, I'm 3-0 against FAMU in my career. So
shots fired.
So whoever said that, we can go back and take a look at the books. So but no, FAMU does have a strong program also. That is true.
And I guess too, defending SWAC champions and off to a good start. I can understand that, but guys, we talked about investing in baseball, and we kind of saw at one point in the history of SWAC baseball, you had only a select few programs that won championships. Then you saw Prairie View. Then you saw Texas Southern. I started investing, coaching. So, and we've also, Charles, talked about baseball being a sport that can really be very successful in tournament play compared to other ones. So, baseball's here to stay. Can it get better? Yes, but the point that Richard makes, we've had that discussion before. Quantity versus quality as far as pitching arms.
100% agree with what Richard said, and I even go back to what Coach Cador and I talked about at the baseball tournament last year, doing the games for SWAC Digital Network. He said pitching is very good. Pitching is hard to come by, not even in the SWAC, because it's been a struggle for us for a long time. But even if you look at baseball now, if you look at baseball the last few years, look at all the high-scoring games that we've seen. Southern University, as I said, scored 45 runs in 3 games, and you add how many did they score last night? Almost 60 runs in 4 games. That's unheard of. That's not baseball. We all know that. So it's good pitching is always going to rule, but right now, can we say, Richard, that good pitching is ruling college baseball today? Because we're seeing a lot of high-scoring games, as you know. Even LSU last night, I just turned the TV on, and they brought in the middle reliever against Vanderbilt. In one pitch, got a base hit, and they were down 1. Then one pitch, they're down 2. So is pitching overall, in your opinion, not just in the SWAC, but just pitching in general, is pitching down? Because I'm seeing a lot of high-scoring games. Either the bats are hot or the pitching is not so hot.
From past years, pitching has maybe trended down somewhat. A lot of the issues have been, I think, it's an arms race also. Especially for your larger and your group of Power 5 universities. the more high level starting pitchers are the guys who are generally going to get more of that scholarship money, which in baseball is a lot different than what Coach Pettaway had to worry about in basketball or what the football team has to worry about. So you're pretty much getting 3 players for 1 scholarship. And that's how most of us can, most smaller schools can only survive doing that. Where you take your Vanderbilts who have more, I hate to say it like this, more funds, of course, and are able to give these higher values to guys. Your Vanderbilts, your Floridas, your bigger schools are bringing in these kids at price levels that we cannot afford to. And then even for, let's not even say the biggest conferences, there was a kid that we had, Dylan Smith. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but I was very upset with the University of Alabama A&M. This is a kid who was an A&M. His parents went to A&M. He grew up here. He was always at this campus and wanted to play at Alabama A&M. But we felt like the coaches at the time didn't feel like we could actually recruit that kid or promise him what other schools could give him, and he ended up going to Alabama. Now, this is a kid who's now in the Detroit Tigers AA system. So we have to be willing to take – I know it's harder for us to recruit in baseball. We don't have the same allotment that other sports have, but sometimes we have to be able to find these kids and bring them on campus and show them what we have to offer. And like I said, it's not – in baseball is different than any other sport. Like I said, as I mentioned, Eastern University, I can take an NAIA school right now, put them on the field with the SEC team, and it's going to be even Steven. There's a possibility that HBC, any level of baseball, can do that also.
And then Coach for Wheeler Brown, to your point about from the administration aspect of it, I talked to a coach recently, a baseball coach. I think you get 11.7 scholarships. There's a league that only has 4. Now, or the coach only 4 scholarships. That's it. That's all. How in the world
you got to make those tough decisions. You got to make those. As an administrator, you got to make those tough decisions. And for a lot of our programs, I know a lot of schools kind of tier their sports, and they distribute the dollars in accordance with, the competitiveness, that sort of thing. So, in your tier 1 group, naturally you got your football and men's and women's basketball, probably throw maybe volleyball up in there, that sort of thing. And, your tier 2 group, you break that down accordingly. And then your tier 3 group, those are going to be the sports that pretty much getting whatever's left over, that sort of thing. And, as they prove competitiveness and things of that nature, you're always looking to reevaluate that and, seeing who you can bump up, who you can get monies to, but, bottom line, Charles and guys, your non-revenue sports pretty much going to always be on the short end of the stick for the most part. You're just going to try to do whatever you can do, at certain points in time. And it behooves all of us to, continue to find coaches that are creative in what they're doing, and you find that the programs, the non-revenue programs that are doing well, got coaches that go above and beyond, coaches that beat the bushes and, fundraise and do the other things outside of the normal things in order to make their programs work. And that's pretty much the bottom line.
And I know in the state of Louisiana, Richard, there was a TOPS program. Like some of the baseball players from an academic standpoint were very good and were talented, in baseball, softball. They help with that from a financial standpoint. And it's called the TOPS program. I don't know of any, I just know in Louisiana. Do they have anything like that in the state of Alabama and Mississippi?
Not at this time. And Major League Baseball did try to step in, specifically in the Birmingham area, and bring minority baseball in there, but for other political reasons, they could not come to an agreement, which hurt the state, because that would have been great to bring to the state of Alabama. But like I said, there's other avenues we've been trying to use. I know Piper Davis in his league down there, they've also been trying to re-engage Major League Baseball on that level to try to get the financial help that can streamline. And it's not just college; it's just bringing us back to the game in total. And I don't want to take it to that extreme on this call, but there were times I could go down to Itabena for a game, and most of the players may not look like me on the other team. And I know it's about winning at the end of the day. So let me always say that you're going to get the best players that you can get, but also trying to bring our kids back into baseball again. And in places it is working.
Yeah,
it is an uphill battle.
Right. And Carlos, don't you think at some of the HBCUs, the reason why we see so many of kids of the other races, because at most of the HBCUs, you have a minority scholarship. You have scholarship money that you can bring these people into your campuses, because I don't know how many of the SWAC schools are actually given the 11.7 that the NC2A allows. See, I don't know how many schools are doing that in baseball. I know that Alabama A&M in basketball. Now, Richard, you may not know this. I never had all my scholarships when I was at A&M when we were in the SWAC. They didn't get that. Basketball was not fully funded with scholarships until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We always came up on the short end of the stick when it came to scholarship. So, and then here we were, you were talking about a sport that's bringing in guarantee money, and we still didn't have all of our scholarships. So I know if they're not doing it for basketball, that at some of these institutions, they're not putting enough money out there for these sports to be as competitive as they need to be. And then when you bring in that minority scholarship, that's why you're seeing these people from other skin, with different skins from ours on these college campuses, because that money's there. You package that along with academics, and then I think you can get more people in school, because the parents don't have to pay as much in baseball. But spreading that love around, that wealth, that's the name of the game. It's how you do it. And then that's what's hurting us when it comes to pitching. And then the other thing that I have found out when it comes to baseball, like travel baseball for the African American, is so expensive that a lot of the parents can't afford it. They cannot afford to put their kids in travel ball. And so that's another issue that I think Major League Baseball needs to look at. If they're talking about helping and bringing back the sport, they need to look at programs that would help these kids who want to play baseball, but their parents cannot afford to put them out there in those travel teams. I think that's one of the things that they need to look at, Richard.
100% agree with you. It's hard to go into these households, and if you have a kid, and usually your kids who excel at baseball also excel at other sports because of what it takes for you to be a good baseball player. So it's hard to go into a house and tell a kid, if you have this full football scholarship available, I think you should take this 33% baseball scholarship instead. So it's a different ball game trying to recruit baseball, unfortunately. Like you said, it's something that I know NCAA has been trying to work on, and Major League Baseball has been trying to work on, but hopefully we can find that answer soon.
Well, I can say this, Carlos, at Alcorn, and I talked to Coach Williams about it. We do offer our full allotment of scholarships. That's here at Alcorn. He has talked about that at nauseum about, and he's aware of other schools that don't offer the full deal, but here at Alcorn, we do offer the full 11.7. Don't know what it is at Southern and other places. I know there's one other SWAC school that only offers 4. Not gonna call the name, but that is a fact that I was told that recently. So, it does vary. And I do believe the NCAA bumped up the minimum. It used to be back in the day, I think you could offer 10% to a kid, 15%. I think when Mr. Williams was playing, that probably may have been the case back then. We offer you 15%, and you got to deal with the rest. but I think there's a minimum now. I want to say it's 25%. I think that's the minimum you have to offer for baseball. It might be a little off on that, but it's definitely not the way it used to be, where you could offer 5%, 10%, and then you just got to deal with the rest of it.
Well, I think we all in agreement. It's a sport that, as a whole, the conference can continue to get better at. It also needs, more resources, and from administrative standpoint, as Willis said, you got to be creative. Major League Baseball has stepped in to help. I guess my question is, in talking to Coach Kadar over the years, and the panel kind of alluded to it, it's very expensive. It's very expensive, to participate in baseball, and from the African American community, that makes it tough. But Richard, do you see in the future continued problems, maybe some success to get it better for overall participation by African Americans in baseball, and on the collegiate level, better resources? Do you see it getting better?
I definitely see it getting better. And there's actually numbers that bear that out. Like you said, there are, with the proliferation of travel ball, that has made things more expensive. But I know specifically, I work in the Birmingham area, and I spoke about this before. There is the Joe Horn Industrial Baseball League. It is an offshoot of the old Negro Leagues that's in Birmingham, and we reconstructed the league to focus primarily on your senior level, junior level, high school kids, and also your guys who are in college and need to get that extra work to make a competitive league to where it's not semi-pro anymore, but have those have kids somewhere that's cost effective for them to come play during the summers. So right now we've grown it since we've gone to that model from 5 teams to 8 teams in the Birmingham area over to Tuscaloosa, and as we were close to the Georgia border, one of those teams actually got picked up by a league out of Atlanta. So things are growing; they are getting better, and you can see that kind of. I know the percentages for Major League Baseball. I know we look at around that 6 to 8%, and we're seeing it still kind of low, but that number has been increasing steadily in the last couple of years to where now, I mean, even now, the face of your league for baseball, you're looking at your Mookie Betts and your Aaron Judges and your young kid Hunter Green over in Cincinnati just came in. There's more guys coming after him. Mason Wynn kid that's in St. Louis right now. So there's more coming down the pipeline. It's just baseball is not instant gratification like other sports. You get drafted to the NFL or NBA, you'll see those kids the next year at the highest level, where in baseball they're in the pipeline, but at times it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get those faces on the main show. But it is getting better. It is being seen.
Before we take a break, I want to go in the chat room. Okay, G Boom said colleges are also competing with the minor leagues for pitching. What do you think about that?
Not a direct, I would say, competition for minor leagues. So most of the times, the kids who are coming out, if you are a high school kid who would be thinking of going to college, if you're going to minor leagues, you're going to be low A ball. And so there's time for development. A lot of those kids are more so now using those years to go to college to get a firmer base. So by the time they come out after the 3 years in college, they, at that point, most of them are now going to your 2A instead of having to start at rookie ball levels. So there are many reasons why, if you are a higher selected kid in the Major League Baseball draft, your compensation level is going to be a lot different. And major league teams are seeing that also. They're seeing what a couple years in college for development is yielding out once they take those kids from college. So I wouldn't say it's a one-to-one competition, but it's more of a developmental stage. So where, your minor league in the minor league system is getting smaller also. So that's being constricted over time. Part of that is due to the collective bargaining. I know they wanted to raise the wages of minor league baseball players, which I'm 100% for. But there's also a byproduct of that. Some of these smaller Class A teams are not going to be able to survive doing that. So they're looking at college almost in the way as the NFL does. Have kids develop at that level, then bring them on at your traditional 2A before bringing them up. So you're going to see a lot more of that in the next couple of years because the money of baseball is also changing, which is a whole nother conversation that can be had.
Well, we'll have that conversation in future shows. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, Richard, could you stay another segment? We're going to kind of look at the SWAC baseball standings and some of the games yesterday. We'll also get back into some basketball, Coach Pettaway. Coach Pettaway, are you going to enjoy yourself and at the Final Four? Is it work or is it more entertainment or entertainment and work?
Well, for me, it's work. I'm still dealing with the knee issue, so I'm not going. I go to specific clinics and stuff like that. Even when I was coaching, I didn't put a lot into the entertainment side. I was down here strictly business, trying to learn, trying to network, that kind of thing. So I've always been that way because you got to remember now, my Final Four partner was always Coach Joe, and we were strictly about business. So that's still in me. Probably the craziest thing I would do is go out to certain restaurants or something like that. But other than that, man, for me, it's business. I like to see these young coaches sit and talk with some of them, and then just like last night, we were still part of the Ethics Coalition clinic. We participated in that. So it's about business. It's about business. Now, the fun time was going to practice, watching some of the teams, the things that they do. When you look at practice, you used to compare what they're doing to what you're doing. Everybody's basically doing most of the same things. So it's more about business for me.
Well said, Coach. I kind of knew that was going to be the answer, but I had to ask it. Anyway. We'll take a time out. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Well,
All righty.
welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show,
Six-
right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yeah, I guess you always got to be ready. Yeah, never. And Charles, is that Charles? Oh wow!
Yeah. Charles, look.
Don't
Charles,
fall, Charles. Don't fall. Take your time. Don't worry about it. At least Charles is not scared of heights.
No,
Up there. But you know, the couple times I've been to Lorman and Spink Stadium, it hasn't been pleasant most of the times. But Charles, I know. But yeah, we were concerned, Charles. Don't fall getting back.
Yeah. And Carlos, when you talk about baseball, I got a question.
Down, so I'm good.
I know Richard played for Coach Wesley, and believe it or not, I was the reason why Coach Wesley was able to come back to Alabama, Alabama A&M. I was athletic director when we brought baseball back. We had a group of young men, alumni group in Huntsville, that came up with a proposal that I presented to our president and board of trustees, and it passed. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to bring baseball back. They already had Coach Wesley as the guy that would be the coach. And what they did for 3 years, they paid Coach Wesley's salary. Now, when it comes to baseball, the thing that I only knew Coach Wesley and the guys after them, but man, they worked so hard. And I just want to know, do the other baseball coaches, the head coaches, put in as much work as I saw Coach Wesley doing? Now, when it comes to maintaining the field and equipment and stuff, he was always doing something. So do all baseball coaches do that?
Yeah, so the group you talking about, did you was that also with Columbus Sanders?
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, Columbus. Yeah, so they're the ones that came to me and presented that proposal. That's how we got baseball back up there.
Yeah, he's one of the godfathers of Alabama baseball.
Right.
Up here. The coaches, I've come back around quite a bit since I graduated. They have been putting in a lot of work at the university. I know the on-campus field that's there. I was part of the first team that played on that field in 2002. And whenever, I don't know if you get a chance to come back very often, Coach Vann, but it looks completely different than it did. And it's been 20 years ago, of course. But they've been making incremental improvements from time to time. There's still a lot that can go into it. One of the main criticisms that parents had over time, because I've worked for the university on multiple levels too, and with the AD, is that the facilities were lagging behind. And I've seen that at a couple of our HBCUs. And I've seen this at predominantly white institutions also. Of course, not your Power 5, but we go to other places. Other schools are having the same issues that we have or that we've seen. But putting in grandstands and updated scoreboards and little amenities of a baseball field really help. The staff that's here now has done a phenomenal job. I would say the recruiting is better than it was in the past. Now we need to start bearing fruit on the field, and I'm hoping that it will also. Our coach is a former Southern University coach. So also bringing some people in with new ideas, new ways of doing things, proven ways that have won in other places will also be of benefit. But I do see good things for the program down here and for where it's going as compared to where it's been in the past.
Coach Pettaway, I can tell you that Omar at Jackson State, you have to go a long way to find somebody that works harder in every way. He won't allow physical plant people to touch his field. He got a lawnmower. He has a lawnmower specifically for cutting the baseball field. And he does all of that work himself, or him and his coaches, that sort of thing. He raises well over $100,000 every year for baseball, and so he goes out and he gets it. Yeah, so I've never seen a baseball coach in all my years that have worked as hard as he does in terms of taking care of his program, doing little things to make his program, successful and to go right.
Right.
Yeah,
Eh,
Coach.
mhm.
Yeah, I've talked to Coach Johnson about that, and he kind of brags about it. He says he's been manicuring baseball fields since he was 14 years old. And you're
Mm-hmm.
exactly right. He does not let anyone step on his field and rake it and
Mm-mm.
cut the grass and all that. So to your point, that's exactly correct. And if I can speak about the Alabama A&M situation, because when we were in the East, we went to Alabama A&M and we played them. I think it's been kind of starts and stops. They used to have a coach there maybe two coaches ago that had a construction background, in which
Mm.
he was kind of a contractor, and he was his plan. He didn't last very long, unfortunately, but I talked to him. He said his plan was Home Depot and Lowe's involved with all the materials that were needed to help, get an indoor batting cage, which I think they have, but just
Yep.
improve the
Yep.
grandstands and all of that. So I do think that there were some plans in place to improve baseball as well as softball. But I Coach Pettaway, you can help me with this. But when they were getting ready to build the event center, there was some talk of moving baseball and softball and taking up that property, and they were going to play their game somewhere in Huntsville. Now that obviously hasn't happened because I was there recently and I did see the baseball and softball complex. But to me, it seems like it's been starts and stops what to do with that property around the event center. And I think that's kind of, in my opinion, that's just kind of been kind of a thorny issue.
Right. I think on the master plan, there is a plan to build a baseball softball complex. They're going to move it, and I think where the present facilities are, they're going to expand that into parking and tailgate. So there is a master plan. I just don't know how long it's going to take because you got to look at how long it took to get the event center.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking at. But I know that from being there personally, I've never seen a baseball coach work as hard as Coach Wesley, because everything you all just named, that's what he did, man. And he used to make me mad because I wanted to go fishing. He was one of my fishing buddies, and he couldn't go and wouldn't go because he had to take care of the field and do stuff like that sometimes. So I was just wondering, was that the norm? Because, Carlos, believe it or not, the things that they're talking about for baseball coaches, that's the pride I took in basketball. Everything that was done in Elmore, my hand was in a part of it. I wanted to make sure that this is what we have, and it's going to look right, and it's going to be right. From the backboards to the floors, I had a hand in everything. And that's what I'm used to seeing from the baseball coaches, and particularly Coach Wesley. They put their pride. They did not allow other people to dictate their success. They took it upon themselves, and that's the way I approach basketball.
Sounds like hard work helps.
Yep.
Hard work, and
Coach,
then
Coach Pettaway, fishing and hot rods. You and Wesley.
Yep. Yep. That was it.
Well, I've always said I'm not a fisherman, but I'll eat the fish. Trust me. Being in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a thing or two about good fish recipes and all the food culture. With that being said, swag baseball games from yesterday, and I went to two places. I went to the swag and then also Division I baseball. It had a little confusion for me on some of the scores.
Thank you. I thank you.
But
I thought it was just me.
I think I figured it out.
I can explain that, Carlos, if I have time, because there is some confusion in the baseball schedules.
The site was wrong. The site was incorrect. That's one thing that I've researched.
We were supposed to play. We were supposed to play Grambling this weekend, and the SWAC came out with an updated schedule. We're playing Texas Southern this weekend, so it impacted a number of teams, and there's a lot of confusion this week. But I think the schedules now that are out there are correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like a good English paper. You got to go to more than one source. And if you don't, you could get caught up. So I'll just say that I went to Division I baseball as well. So bear with me. FAMU over Mississippi Valley State. And look, if it's wrong, let me know. Even in the chat room or on the panel. 14-4. It was Grambling State over Prairie View and them 19-3. At one point, that game was 3-1. Prairie View. I watched a little bit of it on YouTube. Grambling State 19-3. It was FAMU over Alabama State 10-2. Southern University over UAPB 13-11. And oh boy, I circled this one. And the confusion you talked about, but it was Texas Southern over Alcorn State 20-1.
Hey, someone rat is upset right now.
Yeah, turn over in his grave. Yeah, absolutely.
And
So we've given up now, Carlos. I think we've given up, let's see, 29, 16, and 20. 65 runs in 3 games.
Good God Almighty.
Well,
and you know, you cut them up. You know, I know you say you have to have patience because Coach Williams, what year is this now, Charles?
Year 3.
He's got the full allotment of scholarships.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Bethune-Cookman over Jackson State 6-2. With that being said, boy, if you're an Alcorn baseball fan, is patience something that you have to have? Or is it going to get to the point now, well, wait a minute, this thing is just not working out? But anyway, you still got the rest of the year.
Yeah,
baseball season.
you do. But when you don't have, we talk about pitching, you got to be able to throw strikes, and we're not doing that. We're not throwing strikes. We're not putting the ball in play. We're just walking people. And I don't care what level of baseball. And I know Richard, you can attest to this. I've called me in a game. If you can't throw strikes, you have zero chance to beat anybody. And so that's where we are. I think defensively we are better. I think situational hitting we're better, but pitching, it has gone completely south. And when you're walking 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys, you have absolutely zero chance to beat anybody. And that's where we are right now.
Yep, it's not sustainable.
No.
No. I do have a couple corrections because Mississippi Valley is up here in Normal, Alabama today. So that 14-4 A&M won Friday. The second game will be this afternoon. Like I said, we have a lot going on up here in Huntsville. Normal. I detest when people call A&M Huntsville for some reason. I guess I'm just that old enough. But everything else is pretty much correct. Yeah. Alabama A&M is not Huntsville, Alabama. I want to make sure I reiterate that. It is Normal, Alabama. And I say that because I got onto our baseball coach this year. Their road jersey had Huntsville on it. I said, I support you, coach, and I love this program, but as a Bulldog, that does not sit right with me.
So it's normal. Well, the university is. Wait a minute, somebody educate me on this because I know how it is in Baton Rouge. You know, you have the suburbs, and then you have, like, for instance, Charles, you know this, Southern University in Baton Rouge, but some people will say what? In Scotlandville. Now, is that totally different situation with Normal to Huntsville? Two chartered cities, correct?
Yes. Yeah, Normal is his own. The hill is called Normal's Hill. You even got your own post office. Your post office is a normal post office. It's not Huntsville. Everything that comes to Alabama A&M is Normal, Alabama. And so back in the day, that was our own little city on top of that hill. And Richard is right. A lot of people, they confuse it and they say Huntsville, Alabama, but you're on Normal's Hill.
So I should reference we are live in Normal, Alabama instead of Huntsville, Alabama.
Right.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm going to get with the program. Hey.
Yeah.
I learned something. You're never too old to learn.
And my buddy Emmanuel Barnes says, Carlos, if you don't know, you don't know. And I did know.
That's true.
and now you know. So I got you. But seriously, oh my, Alcorn State. I mean, I remember talking to you, Charles, and when the Coach Williams came, it was going to take some time, some patience, and so now we're at the point now. Next year, the rest of this year, you know, do you still need to preach patience?
Yes and no, because when you're losing these games in the way that we're losing, it's one thing to lose 6-5, 8-6. But when you're losing 20-1, 29-3, 16-4, it's tough. It's tough to watch. It's tough to listen to. It's tough to play it. It's tough to call it. And so, at what point do things start going so sideways? And so I think for Coach Williams, who's played the game, whose name is on Heinz Field Stadium at Southern University, played at Southern University, he knows the game. But right now, at this point, it's just not. It's just a hard sell right now when you're getting beat the way we're getting beat.
Well, Richard,
Carlos, I think we got to sit down and see what the plan is. We got to sit down with Coach and see what the plan is. And I got to be certain that the direction that we're going in is going to be the direction that we need to go in, and I got to feel comfortable that he's going to be the person to take us in that direction. I just think that in sports like baseball, maybe softball, a couple other sports, kind of take a little longer than it does with, football, basketball, that sort of thing. And, so there's some inkling there that, patience need to be the order of the day. But as Charles was saying, it's how you losing, and if you're just out there just getting smacked around and beat down to the point where it's downright embarrassing, then we need to have that frank conversation in terms of where we are and where we're headed moving forward.
Well, I think it's at that point. Year 3, but don't call me a hardliner. I'll call you one. I'll call you one, Wheeler. But
But Carlos, you brought up a good point, and maybe Richard can expound on this as a baseball former player. From a coaching perspective, how long does it take a head coach at the SWAC level, HBCU level, to turn a baseball program around? Because it's been kind of down a little bit here. Our last baseball championship was 2011. We've had a couple of coaches since then. How long does it take a coach to come in, infuse, excite, generate excitement for SWAC baseball, that particular program, and turn it around?
For any coach, and I would like to say at least a recruiting cycle for the guy to, be able to get in. This is any sport, to be able to get his guys in and kind of build his culture of what he's looking for. Now, like you said, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for guys. Sometimes you can start seeing where he's trying to go. Now, if the ship is rudderless, then, that becomes another issue that the athletic department has to take a look at. But I know it's specifically for Lorman and Alcorn and Itabena, and I've told this to many of my friends. I've played a game at LSU before. I played at Florida State before. The 2 toughest road games I've ever had in my life was going to Lorman, Mississippi, and going to Itabena, Mississippi at night. So they usually those programs have that built-in home field advantage. And like when I say Itabena at night, if you look around that baseball field, it can intimidate you because there's nothing out there. It's just dark. And so you can feed on that. The home team with an opponent come in, I know what they're looking for. But I would say at least his full 4-year allotment recruiting classes get in and see if there's any progress being made from where he was when he started. And Coach Pettaway, I know you're as a coach, if you feel the same way with that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I've always believed that you have to give a coach an opportunity to get his own players in. You know, you coaching somebody else's players, they may not fit your philosophy, or they may not be a good fit for your part of the culture. So I've always said you give a coach a recruiting cycle.
For year one, guys, Reggie Williams walked in the door in August. He was hired in August, so which was late for the baseball cycle, you know.
Right.
I walked in the old gym. His first workout, he had 15 players. That's it, 15, and he had to scramble to get that. He asked me if I had any more eligibility. I said, no, sir, I can't help you. So you're talking about starting from bare bones, you know, Ms. Williams, you talk about 15 players. That's not a lot to start and work with. So could it be 4 plus 1, considering that you were hired late? Could there be a little bit of a cushion there from a baseball perspective?
Oh, yeah, I can definitely see that, because if you're coming in late, you're already at a disadvantage, missing that recruitment cycle. So now I could only imagine he's scrambling, trying to, like you said, trying to get just anything on the field at that point. So I could definitely understand giving him another year of grace in that situation.
Well, I'll say this: you're lucky Wheeler Brown is not the AD.
If Wheeler was there to be snip.
But Carlos, there are other things. There are other things that, you know, you're grading the guy on. You know, even though he got there late. You know, I mean, you're looking at discipline. You know, you're looking at, you know, practices. You're looking at whether or not he's reaching the kids in terms of them adapting and adjusting to how he wants the game to be played, that sort of thing. So there's some things you can grade him on early on outside of wins and losses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but, you know, that communication, that line of communication has to be open all the time. And as a coach, he's got to be ready at a moment's notice to come in at AD's office and lay his case on the table. You know, where we're going, how are we getting there? How long is it going to take for us to get there? What are the needs? You know, as an AD, how can I help you more outside of you telling me I need another $150,000 to do this, do that, that sort of thing. But, you know, how many other ways outside of that can I help you? You know, and it's got to be a collaborative effort.
Well, he's definitely not doing that, guys. He's not doing that. I've talked to him. He is not providing any kind of excuse in terms of lack of whatever funding. He's not doing that. The problem is the baseball product. And even his last road trip last week at Pine Bluff, I was there. He left some players at home. I was wondering why the dugout looked so thin. He said that he left some players because they're not producing. You know, if you want to get it done, if you want to get better, baseball field is wide open. You get it done on your own time. But right now, and as he's told me, this is a results-oriented business. My job's on the line. So I got to find the best 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever it is that's going to help me win against UAPB. We did win one, but I think he's at a point now which we got to get some results. And the best 9, the best 12, the best 15, whatever it is, you got to do what you got to do. So he's aware of it. He's not making any excuses. He's not using lack of funding. The alumni has contributed. We're getting some new stuff. So that's not the issue. The issue is he just got to figure out a way to put the best players on the field and make the best decisions in terms of pitching, defense, and all that. So he's not making any excuses in terms of what's going on.
Well, I noticed Wheeler said everything but except saying to me more.
I mean, because I'm gonna be frank with him, Carlos. I'm gonna be frank with him.
You're consistent, Wheeler.
If the cupboard is bare financially, you know, then let's talk about some other things outside of that we can do to kind of help right the ship a little bit. Yeah.
Thumbs up, Wheeler.
Money ain't the answer to everything, Carlos. Even though we'd like to think so.
Oh my! And then also, I would think you remember that that's hourglass, and you turn it over, and the sand is coming down. Charles, that's the way I look at Coach Williams and Alcorn. Time is not on his side. I
Yes,
think
sir.
he'll be back another year, though, believe it or not. But the sand is going down. Time is not on his side. Dr. Cavill say, what is the new recruiting cycle with the transfer portal, cost of attendance, and NIL? You know, I saw a special on, and I'm gonna be honest, MSNBC, and they did a story down at LSU, and they were talking to the student athlete. She was volleyball, and her NIL was tremendous. I know that's apples and oranges, but they were saying that pretty much the genie is out of the bottle. They want legislation across the board. They want stipends. You pay everybody the same amount. I don't know.
As a former player, I am all for NIL, but I also see the difficulty that it puts on our institution. So I'm using Alcorn as an example. So say he gets everything turned around as far as Alcorn baseball, then how are you sure now that the next Corey Wimberly isn't transferring from Alcorn to Ole Miss after he has a great season? You know what I'm saying? So it is definitely a different challenge. And I think A&M had the same issue here in football. Guy with Tank, I cannot think of his last name, ended up going with the Houston Texans now. He was with Alabama A&M, had a great year and left. And I think he went to Houston, and then now he got drafted to the NFL. I think we had 3 wide receivers that are now in the NFL that were former A&M Bulldogs but did not play their entire 4 years at A&M. So I'm all for kids making sure you're giving them all the avenues available. And hell, I wish I could have had it when I was back in school too. Not that I would have gotten anything, but maybe a free meal at Burger King every now and then would have been nice. But you know, it's a different. It's giving more pressure to these coaches, especially at smaller programs.
And then with the transfer,
you got NIL collectives, you got the cost of attendance. You know, you got a lot of things in the hopper that you're competing with. And even Coach Thomas talked about it yesterday on his show. And I think all of our SWAC coaches are kind of dealing with that because your roster is going to turn over. If a player wants to explore a better opportunity, somebody's going to offer them cost of attendance. How many of our schools are doing that? And that's a challenge. So I think our coaches now are under more pressure, fan bases, collectives, boosters, administrations. Our coaches now are under more pressure. They're making a little more money. So the pressure that comes with it.
And then also, you get a kid, you recruit, and he's a freshman. You got to re-recruit that kid, student athlete, the sophomore year, the junior year, senior year. Then you got the grad transfers. Remember last week we were talking about some of the basketball players that have left. You know, football. After spring football, you're gonna have student athletes that are gonna transfer. It's just where we at now in athletics, college athletics.
Right. And that was a big the NIL and all of that stuff was a big topic out here yesterday. A lot of people are looking at University of Alabama's basketball team. Their 3 best players came from mid-major programs. They were Alabama was able to get those kids because of the collectives and the NIL. You had one coach sitting up there on the panel yesterday said that now high school kids, they don't ask about playing time now. They don't ask about do you have the program that I want to major in. They want to know how much is their NIL going to be. You got parents and kids who are asking for 6 figures, and these are not these are not 5 stars. These are 3 stars, 4 stars. But their focus is on money right now, not later on. They want it now. So in the recruiting process, they're asking these coaches, head coaches and assistants, what is my NIL going to look like? That's how they're basing their decision on what school to go to.
And if you look at it from a historical standpoint, some would say, well, look over the many years, the student athletes, the money that they've made for the institutions. I know they have scholarships, books, and what have you. But those on the other side, they're looking across, they're saying, look at the millions and the millions that they've made. Then from a political standpoint, you see a lot of the boards trying to be resolved, by people on the other side. You also you saw the controversy with the governor here in the state of Louisiana. This knucklehead wants to say take away scholarships if you're not out there for the
national anthem.
national anthem. So it's a lot of things going on, a lot of things. So guys, collegiate athletics, it's not the same as it was, of course.
No, it's changed because you look at the different programs. If you can recruit a kid, you get him on your campus, you develop that kid, there's no guarantee that kid is going to play his career for you. Because if he's better, other schools are going to offer him. They go through the AAU coaches, they go through the parents, they go through relatives to say, hey, he doesn't need to be at A&M. We can put money in his pocket. We got an NIL. Let him know that he's got a place he can go to. And that's what's happening. That's all over the SWAC. That's all over the country. That's what's happening.
I'd like to ask Richard a question, though, what have you heard in terms of baseball NIL? How does that, I know there's one school in our state, their AD spoke to their boosters and they said they had $300,000 in NIL collective money to offer. And then my bowling partner, who's an Ole Miss grad, said you couldn't get the fourth string quarterback at Ole Miss for that amount of money. So there's a lot of money to be talked around. So the question for baseball, I kind of have an idea for football and basketball, but how is it for baseball? Have you heard any numbers in terms of NIL and what it's costing to get some of these baseball players?
I haven't heard a lot of figures specifically. I know I still had some contacts down at Auburn where it was close to that million more range of NIL money available to guys. But specifically in that HBCU level, I have no idea, or if there's even anything available. And that is money, and money's a different ball game where we are too. So of course there's that. But I can only imagine that, your SECs, your Big Tens, they're going to be playing at a different level than our guys are. And I saw a message that was just put in here that Southern had a pitcher who transferred to Dallas Baptist here recently. Yeah. So we know it's happening. You don't, by chance, get 10 draft eligible guys on the squad at one time these days. So these things are happening, but do I have the exact figures? No, but I'm sure it's going to be different from school to school and program to program, conference to conference.
And Dallas Baptist, let's just be honest, baseball is their number one sport.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. They don't have football to go against, and that's very interesting. Well, it's the state that we're in. College athletics is forever, ever changing. And, boy, I guess it's tough if you're an administrator, a sports administrator. You have to rely on a good team to help you out, because one man, one person cannot turn water into wine. You can't feed the masses of people with a 5 fishes and a loaf of bread. That's just not gonna happen. That's just not gonna happen. But Willer, what you can do is communicate, have a good team around you, keep the communication lines open, and always be transparent to the alums. He's got a boss. They have a boss. They have people under you. You just have to work together and try to just continue to fight the good fight, because it's not an easy job.
try to take advantage of your windows of opportunity. Yeah, and you know that window is not going to stay open for long, especially in today's day and time. Yeah, but you got to take advantage of it when it does open. And like I said, the real key, Carlos, being in the conversation. If you're talking about me on a yearly basis, okay, that's what I want. I'm putting a lot more stock in that. Naturally, I want you to win a championship when the opportunity presents itself, that sort of thing. But more importantly, I want to be in a conversation on a yearly basis. And if I'm in the conversation on a yearly basis, then I'm doing something right.
You know
Case
what?
in point, Tamika Reed. Tamika Reed, case in point. Contract coming up.
Yes.
You know how dominant she's been. What's Jackson gonna pay her? You know, you hear the figures out there. She's been relevant. She's been dominant the last several years. So she is definitely doing that. The question is, from a financial perspective, how much is Ashley Robinson gonna take care of her? Can she continue to recruit at a high level and continue to get those players and continue to dominate?
And then the question becomes even more so, how much can he pay her? I mean, it's not like, the well is unlimited, that sort of thing. So while he may want to take care of her in grand fashion, the dollars may not dictate that he may be able to. I see where, I guess she was making 135 or something like that. I don't know where that is in terms of women's basketball. It doesn't seem like a whole lot. If I'm Ashley, I'm trying to get her to 175, 180, right at that 200 mark if I can, but I don't know that I'm able to go beyond that. So it's going to be a thing of, how do you manage that particular situation? And everybody says, well, donors can give, that sort of thing, but the donors are only given for a set period of time. I mean, somebody may give you a bunch of money for this year. You may not get those same dollars next year. So if you give them to Tamika Reed, how are you going to supplement that in the years moving forward? So it's something that, you gotta juggle and see, the best formula that you can come up with. But you gotta try to take care of her now. There's no doubt about that. But what will the budget hold? How much are you going to be able to take care of her, and still be able to take care of everybody else that needs to be taken care of also.
On that note, we're overdue for a timeout, but when we come back, I'll offer my opinion on that. I'll just say this simply. You find it, and you find it somewhere. Willa, that's your job to find it, and she's worth every doggone penny. And I'll tell you why when I come back. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Pettaway Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Pettaway.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, The Science Machine, Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Need a favor. Young Nerds badge needs for you to donate. It's $25 each. And the link will be in the chat room. $10 of those proceeds will go to the kids. So it's a Young Nerd badge. Just donate $25 each. $10 of the proceeds will go back to the kids. We're going to have the link up in the chat room. So we appreciate you helping us out on that. Also, hit the notification, the like button in the chat room. We appreciate that as well. Got about 11 minutes left in today's show. We appreciate everyone participating at the last timeout. Go ahead.
Yep. Carlos, you talk about Tamika Reed. You know, I don't know if you all believe in the Clarion Ledger. Well, according to JT Keefe, Jackson State is in the process of offering her a 4-year deal worth $1 million.
So $250,000 a year for 4 years.
Ooh. That's what's on there. That's their lead story.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Right.
Calm down,
and they
Will.
said that she just interviewed for the Tulane job. But that because when Wheeler said 135, she was past that a long time ago. But that's what the Clarion Ledger is reporting, that they're working on a deal for her 4 years at over worth $1 million.
Well, and I'm looking in the chat room. Edward says, Carlos, oh yeah, a little faith. And then EA says, boy, Willa, you hardcore, my man. And then EA also said, Willa, tight on them pockets. Now, I thought I was a hard liner. But you know what? I said before the break, She deserves it, and here's why. And I'm a member of a couple of group text messages, and I said Jamar says, please don't trust the Clarion Ledger.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
with that being said, I did see that article, but here's why I think she deserves to get whatever she can. To me, she's a national treasure. She's an HBCU treasure, and she deserves everything she can get. She's also an HBCU advocate. I know some people are going to say, well, wait a minute. She could have probably left JSU, but she decided to stay there. And every time I see her talking on interviews, she's talking about what she wants to accomplish. The HBCUs to be the first to do this, first to do that. She deserves it. And Wheeler, she deserves it. And whatever she could, and she can get. And then I also said from a selfish standpoint, I want to see her continue to stay at JSU, because that Southern and JSU women's rivalry, some will say, what rivalry? They won most of the competition between the two schools. But guess what? There was a shot we heard last year. Southern took them out. Had them this year at home. JSU rallied to come back and win. So I from selfish reasons, I wanted to stay there to continue this great rivalry. But she deserves every bit she can get, Wheeler. And you're lucky.
And Carlos, Carlos, I want to be perfectly clear.
I'm not
Okay.
finished. I'm not finished. She deserves it. And if I put it this way, I think Ashley gets it done. Okay, go ahead, Wheeler.
And I'm in agreement with 95% of the things that you have just said, Carlos. Okay. At the
95,
same time,
I'm getting better.
At the same time, we got 16, 17 sports or what have you. We gotta make sure that we are as fair across the board as possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, that sort of thing. And, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve 250. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that where does that put us in the grand scheme of things? Am I shorting somebody else in order to get her 250? That's number one. And then number two, okay, I just can't concentrate on taking care of her. But she's got a great assistant coaching staff, that sort of thing. I mean, they got to be taken care of also.
Take care of them.
that pie is only so big. And any coach worth a grain of salt, if they want the whole pie for themselves, they're not going to be in a situation they're in for very long, okay? Because the morale and things of that nature is going to start to suffer, because we're a little bit more top heavy than we probably need to be. So if Ashley can get her 250, more power to it. But now what happens with Mo Williams if he has a couple good years in a row, okay? And what happens now? What happens with TC if he has a couple good years in a row, win a couple championships, or staying in the conversation, that sort of thing, and now he's coming to the table also. So you got to be prepared for all this, and you got to be mindful of that, Carlos, when you decide to step out there and put your foot in it. You got to be prepared. Make sure you got your wading boots on, because you're not going to dip your toe and then jump back out. You're going to have to be in it for the long haul.
I'm going to have on my shield of armor. I'm going to have on my boots. I'm going to have on my wand, and I'm going out there and I'm going to fight for Tamika Reed. Now, if she decides to go somewhere else, I thank her for what she's done. Why, Willa, why are you so doom and gloom?
And that's the key. That's the key right there, Carlos. That's the key. You know,
I'm gonna
that's the
fight.
key. At the end of the day, you do what you can to be as fair as you possibly can. Okay, but with the mindset in the back of your mind, that coach may move on if there's a better situation or what have you. What am I going to do as the AD to make sure that I try to keep this boat afloat as much as possible? Do I got that next lightning in a bottle in place? What am I going to do? I need to make my plan. Don't put all my eggs in the dollar bill basket, thinking that that's going to be, the be all end all.
No, well, I understand that, but like I said, I'm a fight, and when I lay my head down on that pillow, I know that I've done all that I can to keep her, and I mean beyond. And if she decides to go on, I thank her. She's left the program in a great position, better than she found it.
Exactly.
And I sleep well the rest of the night, and then I wake up that next morning and I get to work on finding the replacement.
But you got to be ready. You got to be ready. You got to be ready.
Right. I'll have a plan before then because I know maybe that day eventually is coming. With that being said, since I made a big boo-boo and said the spring game was today and this next Saturday, let's see, Roy, if we can put up some little pad action. Will, I think this will make you happy. Then maybe not. But it's the football video of the spring practice. And let me say this. Coach McNair, I talked to someone who knows a position coach who appeared on this show. And the guy told me that Coach McNair has really been doing a great job, and just, being a former head football coach is helping in so many things with a younger coach on the staff. I'm still getting used to Coach McNair being at Southern, but in that Columbia blue and gold, oh, he looks so sweet. He looks good in there. He looks good in there. So maybe we'll get that video up there. Yeah, but
oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about, Carlos.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Carlos, they're doing this now so they can get ready for next week.
Yeah. Yeah, but good with that. The fundamentals. Let me go in the chat room. That's right, Carlos. Final question: where is Don Thornton going? Wow. Let me go. Chris Scott now, Capitol High graduate, 2 years behind me.
Well, you know the rumor, Carlos. I got a phone call today. Coach Pettaway probably. Don Brown has resigned as head women's coach. She's heading to Alabama A&M. I got a call.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Because see now,
she's heading to Normal, Alabama.
There you go. You said Normal.
Press conference at 1 p.m.
Wait a minute, because I kind of had heard something in another direction, but you know what? Oh boy, I'm smiling there.
What I was just told, Carlos, a little while ago, the administration at A&M liked Don Brown, and there it is.
Hey, outstanding. 1 p.m. It's 101. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Charles, another outstanding scoop. I must say, if that plays out to be, if that's what happens, you know where you heard it here first. Want to thank Roy for producing today. Everybody in the chat room, Richard Williams. Richard, closing comments. I always do this quickly. Closing comments. You're a baseball analyst. I'm glad to have you on board.
No, I appreciate taking the time. Letting me come on here and be with you, gentlemen, and hope to do this again.
Well, you will next week. We'll have you back, of course. Plenty of baseball to talk about. Coach Pettaway, quickly.
Yes, sir. I'm going to enjoy the Final Four games today and then watch the Women's Championship tomorrow. And we'll talk about it next week.
Willa Brown, then Charles.
Prayers up for all of those schools that are having their spring games and finishing up spring practice. Hopefully no kids get hurt or anything like that, and coaches are able to see what they need to see, and we're all about getting ready for the fall.
All right.
Charles?
Yeah, prayers up to the people in Baltimore with the whole bridge situation. That's a unfortunate situation. Could impact the economy, who knows? But prayers up to the city of Baltimore and that bridge rebuilding project.
I'll simply say you're absolutely right. You look at the attack on HBCUs from an institutional standpoint, from a political standpoint, fight, get behind. Remember, I always say we got to make sure HBCUs are here 1,000 years from now, viable, financially sound. And you see the attack that's going on, but we can't let them get away with that. Fight, fight, fight until the end. Make sure you join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. for the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless.